Frister Jones. Welcome to our new series on God and You. Now today we're going to begin with a question. How long have you and God been together? Now, some people might look puzzled and say, I didn't know we were. Other people might think about that wonderful time that they invited Jesus into their heart. And some people might say, we've been together forever. Well, my question is, when did that forever begin? When did this life begin? Was it at conception? Or later, when you grew in the womb? Was it after you were born? Well, guess what? You have been together with God longer than that. You have been with God since before you were born. God said through the prophet Jeremiah, he said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Paul said, for those that he foreknew, he also predestined to become conformed to the image of his Son. So you see right there, he said, foreknew. He knew beforehand. And David said, your eyes saw my unformed body. So, you were alive even before God started working on your human body. So where were we? Where were we before we were in the womb? We were with God and Jesus, intimately connected, a part of them. And Jesus said one day we would get that. He said one day it'll just come to you and you will realize it. He said on that day you will realize that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. So he was saying, that's just the way it works. That's the way it is. Paul said, he who is joined to the Lord becomes one spirit with him. So one spirit, that's what you've always been, that's what you are now, and that's what you always will be. You have always been a spirit joined to God. But you had, and you have, and you will have a body that contains your spirit. Now you once had a heavenly body, and now you have a human body, and one day you're going to exchange this human body, and you're going to get a heavenly body again. Paul said there's heavenly bodies and there's earthly bodies. He said, but the splendor of the heavenly bodies is one kind, and the splendor of the earthly bodies is another. So when we exchange our human bodies for those heavenly bodies, this is what happens. Ecclesiastes says, the dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. So there we have it again. The spirit is moving back and forth out of bodies, but the spirit was always there. Now, while you're on earth, you've got an earth suit that covers your spirit. Just like astronauts have space suits, we earth dwellers have to have earth suits while we're here that covers our spirits. So God has created an amazing body for you. Now, you might look at it and think it looks kind of wrinkled or dirty or kind of beat up, but you should see your insides. There is an entire city of God-created cells, all working together for one purpose, and that is to keep you alive on this planet as you do what God brought you here to do. Now, most of us have no idea just how complex this body is. As a matter of fact, scientists are still discovering things about the human body that they didn't know before. Now, David the psalmist talked to God in awe. When David was looking at his body, one day he just had an epiphany and said, wow. And so in talking to God, he said, you created my inmost being. My inmost being, not just what you see on the outside. He said, but my inmost being. He said, you knit me together in my mother's womb. And then he said, I praise you, because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. So don't go knocking God's work. When you look at your body or somebody else's, you are looking at a creation of God, and it is awesome. Now, there are some things to know about this awesome body. And first of all, only God can create a body. Nobody else can do it. So he's the only one. Now, the next thing to know is there are no unplanned pregnancies with God. Now, hear me say that again. We hear that term, unplanned pregnancies. Well, it may be unplanned by us or somebody else, but with God, there are no unplanned pregnancies. Now, the way that sperm began its journey inside the body or toward the inside of the body may not have been ideal. And I'm not going to get into incest, rape, or a whole lot of other things that were just awful. And I'm not saying that that was God designed at all. But once that sperm is in the body, it is all up to God what happens next. So God did not want that creation to happen. It wouldn't happen. Sperm would have never met that egg. But if he does want it to happen, it will happen. So don't let anybody ever tell you that you were unwanted or you were some sort of mistake. If you're here because God wanted you here. Now, what else do you need to know? Your body is time limited. Now, what that means is God created it to function for a set period of time, right down to the millisecond. He determined how long your assignment on earth was going to last. And he did that before he even gave you a human body. David said, all the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. And Job said, a person's days are numbered. They are determined. You've decreed the number of his months, and you've set limits that he can't exceed. So neither you nor anybody else can determine how long you are going to be on this earth. That time was set by God before he even gave you an earth body. So even your best diet and exercise plan is not going to keep you here even a millisecond longer than what God intended. And listen to this. There are no untimely deaths with God. That's another term we hear sometimes. Oh, their death was untimely. Not with God. We might be able to say we don't understand why that person died or why they died at this time. But remember, God has set the number of days, hours, seconds that a person will live on earth. And it's going to be that way. Now, does any of that take away free will? Sometimes people hear things like that and they go, well, gosh, that makes us sound like robots. Do we have any choice in anything? Well, yes, you do. You get a lot of choices between when you're born and when you die. So what else do you need to know about the body? Well, always remember that as amazing as this body is, it's a bodysuit. It's not the real you. The real you is spirit. And that spirit is connected to God. Paul said, your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God. He said, you're not your own. Now, here's the next thing to know about your body and your spirit. Your body can't function without your spirit. Just like the clothes you wear don't move unless you're in them, moving them. It's the same way. Your body without that spirit is nothing. So we have to have God working and moving. And if God's not in you, you'd just be dead. Now, what else do you need to know about your body? Well, Satan hates it. Actually, he hates you. But he especially hates that body because it is a barrier to him. He desperately wants to get at that treasure that you've got inside your body, your spirit, that is connected to the Spirit of God. Satan still dreams. He still dreams of being able to take God's place and link up with your spirit, and He's still looking for a rebel force to take over and let Him command the world. So, He's going to attack your body. He's coming at you. He's going to attack your mind because He believes if He can get through that outer part of your body, He's going to have a clear path to the inner sanctum where your spirit is. And that's what He's after. But He doesn't know that God gave you underwear. And your underwear is much more powerful than He could ever imagine. This is what Paul said about suiting up here. Paul said, finally, be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. You put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. So, next time we get together, we're going to talk about how to be sure that you've got your under armor in place and you will be battle ready when Satan gets ready to make his move. I'm Carolyn Priester Jones, and I'm looking forward to seeing you right back here on this channel next time.